Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 10, the opulence of the Absolute, text 16. Vaktum arhasi asheshena divyaha hi atma vibhutayaha yabhihi vibhutibhihi lokan iman tvam vyapya tisthasi vaktumarhasya sheshena divyayatma vibhutayaha याभिर विभूतिभिर लोकान इमां त्वं व्याप्य तिष्ठसि वक्तुम to say, arhasi you deserve, asheshena in detail, divyaha divine, he certainly, atma your own, vibhutayaha opulences, yabhihi by which, vibhutibhihi opulences, lokan all the planets, iman these, tvam you, vyapya pervading, tisthasi remain. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Abhaya Charana Aravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these words. Purport. In this verse it appears that Arjuna is already satisfied with his understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. By Krishna's grace, Arjuna has personal experience, intelligence and knowledge, and whatever else a person may have, and through all these agencies, he has understood Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For him there is no doubt. Yet he is asking Krishna to explain his all-pervading nature. People in general and the impersonalists in particular concern themselves mainly with the all-pervading nature of the Supreme. So Arjuna is asking Krishna how he exists in his all-pervading aspect through his different energies. One should know that this is being asked by Arjuna on behalf of the common people. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shyutaf Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vaktumarhasya sheshena divya hyatma vibhutayah yabhirvibhutibhirlokan imam stvam vyapya tishthasi. Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. So here now we are continuing in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, wherein Arjuna now requests Krishna to again in detail describe how he pervades, how he controls everything. Why he asked this question? As Srila Prabhupada narrates in the purport, he himself has already experienced the personality of Krishna. There are three aspects of absolute truth, increasingly one above the another, which the absolute truth can be understood in. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tat tat yajnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. In the Bhagavatam this verse comes where Suta Goswami explains that the goal of life is to understand absolute truth. And what is that absolute truth? That absolute truth can be described in three levels. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwaniti. The beginning understanding of the absolute truth is that that feature which is all pervading, omnipresence. The supreme absolute truth is present everywhere. He is inside, he is outside, he is everywhere. Those who are transcendentalists, that is, those who are trying to understand absolute truth, this is the beginning stage of understanding. Especially those who are trying to understand the absolute truth by dint of their logic, by dint of their own intelligence, they can at the most reach this understanding of the absolute truth. That absolute truth is impersonal, it's not a person, but it's like some energy which is present everywhere. This is very much appreciated today by seeing how the scientists, they come to a similar conclusion, that ultimately energy is everything. Though they are not even as advanced as the impersonalists who follow the Vedic process, because the impersonalists who follow the Vedic process, like exemplified by Shukdev Goswami, by the four Kumaras, before they became devotees, they were impersonalists. They had realization of this aspect of the absolute truth, the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth. But that impersonal aspect of the absolute truth is completely spiritual in nature, Brahman. Whereas the scientist's understanding is only the omnipresence of the Lord in this existence through material manifestation in the form of his material energies. So that's a very low grade understanding. It's actually not the understanding of the absolute truth in reality. It's only a partial, very, very partial understanding of the absolute truth. Only a very small feature of the absolute truth, that how absolute truth is present in this world everywhere. And scientists today are the most exalted people of the society. But in comparison to the Vedic seers, they have not actually even entered into the spiritual realm. They are still tottering on the material platform. Therefore, we see that today, according to the modern science, the prevalent theory is what is technically called naturalism, which is a part of or connected very closely to other related concepts called humanism, rationalism. These are all different isms. Prabhupada used to say, so many isms. So these are some famous isms which are very much shaping the mentality of the people. These are not just some words, they are practically how people think today. They are made to think today. Like for example, if we see what is naturalism. So naturalism refers to an understanding that nature is everything. Nature is absolute truth. The material nature, the matter and the laws governing the material nature. The matter, energy and the laws governing these is at the helm, is at the top. This is all what it's about. That is called naturalism. Humanism. What is humanism? Humans are at the summit of evolution, and therefore everything that exists is simply based on the judgment of the human beings, and it is for the human beings. Whatever human beings are able to conceive, that is truth, and whatever they are not able to conceive, that is not there. So human beings are the measure of reality. This has started, of course, this concept is there always in the society. Hiranyakashipu also followed this. Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, they all thought that man is the measure of everything. Who is God? There is no God. I have, by my yogic process, that's a very subtle science. Yogic process, according to Ravana and Hiranyakashipu, this was another sort of a material science only, which was very subtle, which was governed by mantras. So, but that's what their idea was, that by perfecting sound, by perfecting the sound vibration mantra, we will be able to attain the powers by which we will become immortal. So, practically we will be able to control nature, because ultimately nature is everything, and if we are able to understand nature, we can control it, and then we can use the laws of nature, we can change them, everything we can do. That is always the thought process of demons. So it's nothing new, but in the modern world, this type of mentality was propagated first in the modern times by Pythagoras. There was one mathematician, we see Pythagoras theorem. So this gentleman, he propagated this understanding of humanism. Man is the measure of everything. That means man is at the center of the universe, the cynosure, the most important being are human beings. Therefore, affected by that, today we, at least theoretically, care for the human beings, and we can kill everybody else, anything else, for the sake of human beings. This is the result of this theory. So there is a widespread slaughter of animals because humanism, Man is at the center. Everything is ultimately meant for human beings. You see? And even the religions, they become influenced by these theories and they try to accommodate these theories into the religious paradigms. So we see how even the teachings of the religion change to accommodate these things. Like I was that the other day telling, in the Christianity, they took out the soul from the animals because one of the thing was influenced by this humanistic ideas. Otherwise, religion means who is the center? Center is God. We are not in the center. God is in the center. We are servant. We are here to serve the God. But when this humanism became prevalent, prominent, then God is just given a lip service. Yeah, God is there in the heaven, He is there, but for all practical purposes, it's the man who is the God. Only on Sundays, only on when we go to the temples, then we think of God, but for rest of the time, practically we are the God, because all the time what we are doing is for us. We are all the time conscious about us, remembering us, glorifying us. So practically, for all practical purposes, we are God. So that what happens, that ultimately religion also becomes changed. So I'm just trying to tell it to emphasize that these philosophies are very influential. And especially in this age of Kali Yuga, these philosophies prosper like anything. Anybody comes with such ideas, immediately it is accepted by people in general, because the whole atmosphere is surcharged by atheism. So this is humanism, naturalism, reductionism, because nature is everything and nature seems to be very complicated to understand everything. How will it be possible? Therefore, they have come up with another theory, that reductionism, because everything is matter and matter is composed of smaller and smaller units. So ultimately you can disintegrate matter into smaller and smaller units, and ultimately the whole material world is made up of such small units put together. So I cannot understand the whole universe together. It looks very complicated, but it can be broken down to very simple constituents which can be very easily understood, which follow the very simple laws of physics and mathematics, and therefore we can very easily study them in our laboratories. And the whole existence is nothing but addition of all those small units. So if you study a small component, you will know everything. That's the idea. Like if there is a pot of rice and we have to know whether the rice is properly cooked or not, what we do? We just take one grain and see if it is cooked or not. If that grain is cooked, whole rice is cooked. So similar to that, if we understand a small portion of this world, we can understand everything, because everything is just nothing but addition of these small things. Now, very interesting that in schools and in colleges, how these things are being taught, it appears as if scientists have really found these things. Whereas in reality, as I was explaining in the last class also, these are merely assumptions. These are merely assumptions. There is no scientific proof for these things. Then why did they assume all these things? Because that is the way how the science works. To proceed in any direction, science has to first make some assumptions, and then by observation and by experimentation verify those observations, those presumptions, whether they are true or not. And if they are true, then they go further. Like that the science develops. That's the very mechanism how the science works. So therefore, they just presume some of the things with a notion that over a period of time we will verify them whether what we thought was correct or not. If not, then we will change them, and if yes, then we will go ahead. With that thought, they assumed certain things which to them appear to be most reasonable, or the way which made easier for the things to be understood. Like for example, reductionism. Yes, it is assuming if everything can be reduced in very simple components, then it becomes possible to understand the complex world. So therefore, this was the easiest path. Therefore, they chose it. It was never with the intention that this is truth. It was only an assumption, which was to be seen gradually whether it is true or not. But over a period of time, what happens? The layman and the way they present it, the layman understand that these are scientific truths. Scientists have found it. And gradually on these assumptions, the whole science grows. All the inventions, so many things are done based on such assumptions, and many times as these inventions, they work. Because inventions can work because they not necessarily are dependent on whether this assumption was true or not. In either case, that invention could be done. Therefore, it is irrelevant. One can make the inventions, one can do things, still that does not mean that the assumption was true, because things can be done in more than one ways. So, what happens that like that people start having faith, belief in science, and then even afterwards, when by scientific exploration it becomes more and more clear that the assumptions were wrong, but now the people and the scientists who are trained with that idea do not want to change it. Rather, they want to wait and see, maybe some more experimentation, and then this will be proved true. So, this happens. So, we are living in this era where science is proposing such things and people blindly follow them. So, here in this context, these verses are very important. If somehow we can communicate this science to the people. Here, Lord Krishna is, Arjuna is asking, please tell me your energies. Yes, energy is true, it's energies, correct, but whose energy? It is not energy in itself which is governing everything. There is always a person behind energies. Energy is impersonal, energy is unconscious. So, unconscious thing in itself cannot be the ultimate governing principle, cannot be the ultimate governing principle, because ultimately what is unconscious is without purpose. And it is not very difficult, rather it is most reasonable to understand that there is a purpose in the creation, there is intelligence in the creation. It is more reasonable than to think that there is no intelligence in the creation. Prabhupada used to give very simple example. If you see a flower, a rose, what does it shows? That there should be, not the flower. You see a painting of a flower, rose flower, painted. What will come to our mind immediately? If very beautiful painting we see of a flower, the immediate thought will be, oh, what a great artist who has painted so nicely, isn't it? It will not come to our mind, oh, how the ink fell in such a way that this flower came into existence. The painting came. Correct? Ultimately, it is only ink. What is a painting? It's only some paint. Correct? It's a paint. So, Where is the consciousness there? It's just the paint. It does not, does it show that if we see a painting of a rose, does it show consciousness behind it? It's only paint. It's paper or canvas, whatever it is, and the paint. Both are matter. But by seeing the pattern, we can understand that there is consciousness behind it. Without consciousness, it is not possible to have that pattern. Because randomly, by the ink, that particular pattern will not come into place. If ink falls, if a bottle of paint spills, if the paint spills, there will be some pattern, but it will not be a pattern of an already existing complicated structure. That's the difference between painting and a spill over ink. Though nowadays in modern painting, people just, as if they spill the paint and ink and then they call it as a painting. But if there is a specific pattern, there is a rose, it's a specific pattern, very complicated pattern. It's not random pattern. It is not possible by ink to just fall and take shape of a rose. Another example we can take, say, do we have statues here of people made? Okay. So maybe some politicians or some people like that, correct? So suppose we see a statue which is, say, carved from a stone. In India, we have many places this statue of Mahatma Gandhi. So I will take that example. Mahatma Gandhi. So he was a real person who existed, correct? So people have seen him. There is his photographs available. So if we see his photograph, we can recognize this is the photo of Mahatma Gandhi, because it's a very specific pattern, very specific shape of his face, specs and everything is a very particular design, everything. We can say this is Mahatma Gandhi, this photo is of Mahatma Gandhi. So suppose we see a stone carved which is similar to that Gandhi's face. So we can, for sure we can say that this stone has been carved by a person with a purpose to make an image of Gandhi out of it. It is only chisel and the hammer, and the chisel worked following the principle of physics. How much force should be applied on the stone, at what angle, so that it will chip off the stone in a particular way. So naturally all these forces were into action when the sculptor carved out that image from that stone. No doubt it's those forces which are applying everywhere. So in one sense we can say that this image in stone, out of the stone of Gandhi, is nothing but matter and energy and laws governing matter and energy. What is a stone? It's matter. Okay. The sculptor, when he applied hammer and chisel, he applied what? Energy. So it's energy, it is matter, and there are laws governing how strong the stone is. Why it is strong? Because there is a particular crystal formation in the stone which gives that strength. So like that, there are laws involved in it. Because of that, stone is like that, and because of that, so much force was needed to be applied to carve that image. All right, but still, does matter, energy and the laws explain everything about that Gandhi image? Is it able to explain everything? Can everything about that image be explained just by these three things? Matter, stone, energy applied, and third thing is the laws. No. Why? The same sculpture could have sculpted something else also. But because it is Gandhi's image, that means that person's purpose that I want to carve Gandhi image is also there. Without that, it cannot be explained why stone has come into this shape. If you leave a stone for 1,000 years and the weather and climatic changes will happen over a period of time, say 1,000 years, still can we expect that after 1,000 years an image like Gandhi will come out of the stone? No, it will not happen. 1,000 years, 2,000 years, lakhs of years, it will never happen. Okay, so forces are also happening there, that is also matter, but the difference is here an sculpture with a purpose, a conscious being has worked on it. So this is a very simple thing, design, which Prabhupada, very simple, with simple examples Prabhupada used to put, that if by seeing a beautiful rose painting, we can immediately appreciate that there is a painter, there is an artist, then when we see a natural flower, then it is but natural to understand that there should be some designer behind this beautiful rose. How can it come without a person behind it? The most intelligent person, the best of the artists. If we appreciate a beautiful painting and we appreciate the painter, then how much we should appreciate the artist who designed the original rose. That's what Prabhupada's argument was, which is very logical. And but just see that today the scientists and people in general can't follow this very simple logic because they are brainwashed by the modern science. So here therefore Arjuna is asking Krishna that you please explain me how your energies work, not energies work, but your energies, vibhuti, your vibhuti, I want to know. So he wants Krishna to explain these energies so that those who are at least neutral, they are not like atheistic scientists who will not accept God even though they are proved, they don't want to accept. Not for them, but at least for those who are not demoniac, but who are ignorant. For them, Arjuna wants Krishna to explain his energies, how he is controlling everything, how he is behind the laws, how he is the maker of laws, how everything he is. Like Krishna says, Gama Vishyacha Bhutani, I enter into the earth and all the planets and make them float. So if whatever energy you may call it by your terminology, law of gravitation or this or that, but ultimately it is Krishna's energy because of which these planets float. It is not randomly, suddenly these things are there. Like last class I was telling, the modern science is based on the one miracle which made everything else scientifically happening. Scientists, they always discard miracles. They say, one scientist has written a book, The God of Gaps. Dawkins has written a book, God of Gaps. What does it mean? That in our observation in the world, many times we are unable to explain everything. These are called gaps. And whenever there are gaps, the ignorant people claim it to be hand of God. So therefore he wrote a book called God of Gaps. That means God is nothing but lack of our understanding of how this material nature works on its own. Our gap in the understanding is what we call as God. Therefore he wrote the book, The God of Gaps. Again in biology we use the term the missing link. In the evolution theory, Darwin hypothesized that man and all other present day creatures have evolved automatically just by following the blind laws of nature. From very simple living entity, all these variety of complex forms have evolved. That's what Darwin thought. And therefore, it was later thought that if it is true, then when we dig the earth deeper and deeper and deeper, the deeper layers are more ancient than the layers towards the surface. So, if we go on digging deeper, then the deeper layers should show the remnants of the forms which were the progenitor of the later forms, our ancestors. As we go deeper and deeper, we will meet our ancestors. Deeper we go, we meet our more remote ancestor. That's the theory. So then, as the other day I was talking about these embryos, how they just painted the photos of these embryos, and later on they found that actually it's not true, but still we read in our books, still the same photo is there to mislead us. So similarly, in the another thing in the biology book, you will see that there is an animal, an ape with 4 legs. Then you will see a next ape with a smaller front hands, front limbs. So it's like walking bent, but not using 4 legs. Then next, a creature which is more erect, but still the face is like of an animal, and then you will see a modern man. So in their archaeological surveys, they couldn't find the intermediate stages. So these were called missing links. That if Darwin is true, if Darwin is right, if evolution is true, then we should be able to find all intermediate steps, correct? So those which were not found were called missing links. So at one time, what happened, the scientists claimed, it came in newspaper, scientists have discovered the missing link. So proved, Darwin is proved true. Now later on, some of the scientists, they did some more investigation into those missing links, and they found that these missing links, how they discovered that. Like for example, there was one ape with a very long jaw, and then human beings who have a small jaw, and the link was missing in between. So how they made that link? They found some bone of a jaw which was very long. So with their file, there is a file by which you scrub and like that. So with that file, they changed that bone to look like that missing link in between, because they had to prove that there is that Darwin is true. These type of things happen, and as I was narrating the other day, our devotees have written that book, Forbidden Archaeology, which accounts for all such things which go on in the science, in the name of science. So like that. So missing link, the gap of God. So that's what they think, that ultimately everything we can understand by science, and but their very theory is presently based on the Big Bang, which happened 12,000 million years ago. A Big Bang happened. At the time of Big Bang, all the laws of nature were there. How? Where from? How they just were there? Don't ask us. There is a very big astrophysicist. You can see in the Google also. There is a radio program, public program. I think he's from Philadelphia or somewhere there. He's a Nobel laureate, astrophysicist. It's a public program, online program, and there is a question asked from this astrophysicist by a student. He asks him, "Sir, can you please tell us what was there before the Big Bang?" Because science is able to explain everything from the Big Bang onwards. Because they have assumed that at the time of Big Bang all the laws were there, so they apply the laws there as Big Bang was there, and with that everything came into existence. But he asked, what was there before the Big Bang? Now the scientist, what he said? He said, well, this is a very interesting question. Well, I don't think any of us know that what was there before the Big Bang. That's a big question for us also. Can you imagine? He's an astrophysicist, he's a Nobel laureate. So, if he does not know, no one knows. Correct? If he doesn't know, no one knows. And this is what he accepts in public, that none of us know what was there before the Big Bang. So, if you don't know what was there before the Big Bang, and you are saying something blasted, and it was not something which blasted, it was nothing which blasted, because there was not, because they cannot describe anything before the Big Bang. You see, all their laws of what they know today, mathematics, start from the time of Big Bang. So, to describe anything, they need the laws, they need the equation. How they will explain that? Because the laws were not there before that. If I have to explain this in scientific terms, okay, there is a length, breadth and height, at least 3 dimensions I need to explain what is this table. There are many more details to explain this table, but at least I need to tell what is the length, what is the breadth, what is the height. But just imagine, there is no space. Today we take it for granted that there is a space and this table exists in this space, therefore there is length, breadth and height. But from where this space came into existence? We are talking of a time when nothing existed, even the space was not there. So, how will, there is no dimension, there is no length, there is no breadth, there is no height. So, how will you explain that thing which exploded? Because it cannot be explained in mathematical, in scientific terms, because there is no length, there is no breadth, there is no density, there is no concept of any matter, there is nothing there. So, how you will explain? So, therefore, practically what the scientists are making us believe, that everything came fantastically into existence from nothing. How? By miracle. A scientific miracle. God miracle is bad, it is unscientific, but the scientific miracle should be true because it is told by scientists. So, this is very interesting how the whole world today is being misled by science faith. So far there were talks of religious faith, now it is a time for scientific faith. But at least at present the science is, for most of us and even for scientists, is no more than a belief system, it is just a faith. But the reality is that Krishna, by his energies, he is maintaining everything. And if we start meditating on Krishna, starting with this, that yes, Rasom Apsu Kontaya, oh this water, the taste of water is Krishna, this taste is not just automatically there. I am experiencing Krishna in the form of taste. So, taste, this energy, this air, everything is nothing but Krishna's energy. So, by that we begin to understand absolute truth, we begin to understand Krishna by appreciating how all this material existence, all the energy, all the matter is nothing but one of the energies of the great Lord. This is the beginning of a spiritual life. So, this is this 10th chapter therefore is elaboration on this all pervading aspect of Krishna in the form of his energies. There is another way Krishna is all pervading, that is through as Paramatma. Andantarastha Parmanu Chayantarastham, I am present in every atom. So, this is another, but that is a spiritual form. Scientists or the beginners may not be able to understand them. Therefore, in this particular chapter, Arjuna is requesting Krishna to explain his material aspect. So, at least if we connect that this matter is coming from Krishna, we begin our understanding of the Supreme. But ultimately, we can understand him properly. His personal feature can only be understood by bhakti. So, that is the gist, that the beginning can be made by understanding how Krishna is present through his energies, mental energies. Hare Krishna. We end with that. Hare Krishna. Any question or comment? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for the wonderful narration. And Prabhu, we are told in school when we are doing mathematics, it says science is systematic study of nature.
Science is the systematic
Study of nature.
story of nature. Study of nature. Okay.
And nature is one of the energies of the Lord. So, and normally we used to have in school before we have debates that science have done good and science have done bad. So, in your opinion, has science done bad or bad or good?
Well, per se, science has got many things. One thing is the scientific inventions. For example, this smartphone we are presently using. So, many of these things can be put in the service of the Lord. So, to that extent we can accept the scientific things because it can be used in service of Krishna, because this is also energy of Krishna. So, in that way we can understand. But another aspect of science which is at the bottom of it is that because we can make smartphones, therefore we can make everything. There is no need of God. So, they have gone beyond their limits. So, science science is not outside the purview of God. So, that has some use in service of Krishna, but when they become too much puffed up and they declare that by science we have understood that there is no God, then they are bad to the extreme, because then you are denying God. And another thing is, though devotees use these scientific inventions in the service of Lord, but primarily these things are not made for the service of the Lord. Primarily the scientists are not making them to propagate the holy name. They are making them to propagate the material sound, sense enjoyment. So, whatever they are doing, it is ultimately not for the benefit of human society, because it is meant to provoke unnecessary sense gratification. But in hands of devotees, even those things which were made to forget God, in hands of devotees we may use them to bring Krishna to other people. So, that much part is good because it is in hands of the devotees. Because Prabhupada used the airplanes, therefore airplane had use. Otherwise, when the non-devotees are using it, it is just creating nuisance for them and for others. Hare Krishna. Yes.
From my study of physics throughout in school, I've realized that energy is the ability to do work. Yeah, energy is the ability to do work, and energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can be transformed from one form to the other.
That's also an assumption.
It's an assumption?
Yes, it's an assumption, because how do they know? Have they calculated everything?
Okay. And so I want to find out if the energy of Krishna is of the same form, whether it can be transformed from one energy form to another, or is the ability to do work only.
You see, one thing is Krishna's energy is unlimited. It is not fixed like the scientists say, that energy can never be created nor destroyed. Krishna can create any amount of energy. Krishna can create anything. Just this example of sun. Scientists are just assuming that there is a fixed quota, fixed energy. But this sun is just going on and on for, at least by scientist explanations, millions of years, just producing and not diminishing at all. Correct? So, that is one example, that is unlimited energy. Even in the material sphere we can see that. And yes, Krishna's energy, by Krishna's wish, energy can be transformed, even things can be transformed. Ultimately, by Krishna's wish, even matter, actually ultimately matter can also be transformed into spirit. I mean, Krishna can transform his energies, because Krishna is the great creator of these energies. He can, for him there is only one energy. He can use anything for his service. So, yeah, that way it's there. Yes. I'll give preference to them because they are there from the beginning of the class.
Thanks so much. My only question is, can we really blame scientists for the science itself?
Blame. Your question is blame.
Yes.
Can we really blame scientists?
Yes.
Okay.
The word scientist is a group or a name for particular people. But those same people, as you said the other time, when they come down, they worship God. They know that God exists. But when we mention scientists, we group everybody as there's no God. So in this case, who are we blaming? For some believe that there's God, but one day, it's like our politicians, the opposition and then the ruling party. We see them as enemies. But when they break from parliament, they go to restaurant and enjoy together. I'm sure you are getting my point.
Yeah. So you are saying the scientists, in their heart, they are devotees.
Yes.
They speak about the philosophy and atheistic things,
Yes.
but when they come home, they go to church. Yeah. So first is, not all the scientists are like that. There are scientists who are very particular that this atheistic ideas float. Therefore, they write books to propagate atheism, to nullify theism, and the theory, the atheistic theory is what they teach in the schools. So, generation after generation, people are becoming more and more atheists because of that thing. Like in the schools also, when the education began, like in India, when the modern education came, they said, yeah, mathematics you have to teach very good, and Ramayana, yeah, Ramayana. Initially in India, the whole education was only about Ramayana and Mahabharata. So they could not cut off that completely. So they also had Ramayana and science. Okay. So it appeared, yeah, good, science is good, but Ramayana is also there, no problem, what is the problem? But now there is no Ramayana and only science is left, because both are antagonistic. You cannot ultimately accommodate both things together, because modern science says there is no Rama, there cannot be any Ram. So ultimately one day you have to choose one out of these two. So some scientists today in their home, they may be going to God, but their next generation will not do that. They will ask, Father, what you are doing? No, you are teaching physics and everything, which ultimately is based on this assumption, and then you come. So it's just a formality. So gradually what happens, worshipping God comes to the level of a formality, and then once it is just a formality, the heart is not there, then it's a matter of time, it will be out of practice. So this is a path leading towards atheism only. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. I remember last week I came, and in that lecture you said something about an American businessman who is trying to take everyone to
Yeah, that is our
Mars. So, but we learned from Prabhupada's books that Prabhupada says that they are all rascals. They cannot go to the moon.
Yeah.
So what to talk about the other planets?
Yeah.
So, and with this body, it's not possible to go to the moon.
And with this much heaps of sinful activities, that's the most important thing.
So nowadays we see every day, we hear every day that some or other is going to some planet. So how do we see that state?
No, one thing is, even the first expedition to the moon, there are many expeditions which are without any men, just mechanical expeditions. Then they claimed some expeditions with men, but there are it's very controversial whether they really are there, because how you will really know that they really go there? There are so many books written on that. There is a book written by a devotee who happened to be a friend of a very big physicist in America, whose father was very much involved with the first moon expeditions. Moon, what is the name of the book? The Moon Shadows. The name of the book is The Moon Shadows. So he was very close, he was his friend, and he narrates in that book how there are so many evidences that actually they have not gone. There is a there are very heavy rays in the space after some time which we cannot penetrate, and those spaceships, they were completely not prepared with that to prevent those rays. So it's impossible that they would have gone. There are so many such things. So one thing is, it's very controversial that really went. Prabhupada said even if they went somewhere, they would have gone somewhere else, because there are so many planets. They are very near. Planets are nearby also. So they went. At least we can see they did not stay there. So what's the use of going, touching and coming? Prabhupada also used to joke, even if they go to the moon and from there also he is seeing where is my Moscow. So if you have gone really to a moon, a heavenly planet, why do you want to come back? You stay there. And what scientists are planning to do there is the same thing what they are doing here. Here they have already destroyed Earth planet. If they go to Mars, what you can expect from them? They will destroy that also. So first thing, it's very controversial that they are going. Second thing, even if they go, they land somewhere in the space, in some place, according to their description, it is not a place inhabitable. They only find some sand and rock, it's not a livable place there. So it is anyway useless to go and spend energy there. Just it's a childish, hey, we went there and we came back. Just that childish, for that childish pleasure, they are spending millions and millions and millions of dollars, and we have to pay for that, all the taxpayers. So Prabhupada therefore said that this whole thing is very childish. Their whole expedition is just childish from beginning to end. So we can say, we can understand that all the claims, whatever Shastra's claims, we accept because this stands the test of time. These scientists, they will say something, they will cheat, they will, or even if they understand that it's true, afterwards it comes out to be not true. So therefore we accept scriptures, not these scientists.
So even there is the first person who landed on the moon.
Yeah.
Mr. Neil.
Yeah, Armstrong.
He also denied that he was not sure whether he landed on the moon.
There are documentaries which are made, that's just a faked up thing in Arizona.
My question is again that how do we see as a devotee, because my children, when they were in the school, they were learning all this rubbish.
Yeah, so we should not send them to these schools. Otherwise they will ask us questions, Pitaji, you say one thing in the class and here we learn another thing. You have to have another class in the home once they come back, you see, so to nullify that everything. Yeah, it's difficult. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai.